Today, inshallah, we are going to complete the chapter 6, the money supply, and start in chapter 7, the money demand and the equilibrium interest rate. In the last class, we reached to the equilibrium in the money market. And as you know that, the equilibrium in the money market occurs when there is an intersection between the money supply curve, this is the money supply curve, and the money demand curve. The horizontal is the quantity of money, and this is the interest rate, I or R. R is the interest rate. And as you see, that the money supply curve is a vertical line, which means there is no relationship, or the interest rate does not affect the quantity of money supplied. So, or the money supply curve. So suppose this is the money supply curve. This is R, a quantity of money supply. Suppose that the interest rate equals 3%. The increasing of interest rate from 3% to 7% doesn't affect the money supply curve. صح? So we have a shifting along from A to B along the same money supply curve, right? Okay? But what about the interest rate and the quantity of money demanded, or the money demand? Let's come back to analyze the relationship between the interest rate. This is the money demand curve. R is the interest rate, the quantity of money demanded. There is what? Suppose this is R1, a quantity of money demanded 1, point A. The increasing of the interest rate from R1 to R2 leads to what? A reduction of the quantity of money demand 2. So we have an inverse relationship between the interest rate, which is the cost of borrowing, and the money demand, or the quantity of money demanded. But in this case, the increasing interest rate does not change the quantity of money supplied. صح? This is the quantity of money supplied 1 and 2. The same. But in this case, the increasing interest rate leads to a reduction of the quantity of money demanded for the purpose of the transaction purposes and speculation. Let's analyze the concept, or analyze the relationship between the interest rate and the quantity of money demanded. Suppose, as we mentioned, that the interest rate is what? Is the cost of borrowing. تكلفة اقتراض. So the increasing of interest rate leads to what? Increasing of the cost of borrowing. بيرفع تكلفة الاقتراض. يعني suppose you are going to take a loan from the bank. The increasing interest rate leads to increasing the cost of borrowing. So in this case, leads to what? A decreasing in the quantity of money demanded for speculation, for transactions, for etc. Right? So, in this case, the increasing interest rate leads to what? Increasing the cost of borrowing. Which leads to what? Decreasing in the quantity of money demanded for the speculation, for transaction, because the cost of borrowing increased. تكلفة الاقتراض زادت. So, the size of borrowing would decline. صح؟ نوصل في الانفستمنت شباب. exactly. so هذا later on حنركز عليه. الانفستمنت would decline, or the demand for investment would decline. So in this case, as you know, we have an inverse or negative relationship between the interest rate and investment, inverse relationship between the interest rate and the quantum of money demanded, right? The money market is quite similar to other markets, the goods and services market and the labor market. If you remember that, in the goods market, the equilibrium occurs when there is an intersection between the aggregate demand and aggregate supply for goods and services. صح? In the labor market, the equilibrium occurs when there is an intersection between the labor demand curve and the labor supply curve, right? The money supply or the money market is quite similar. So the equilibrium in the money market occurs when there is an intersection between the money supply and money demand curves. So let's come back to the goods and services market and the labor market, and then let's do a shift or go to the money market. In the goods and services market, goods market. In the goods market or goods and services market, this is the price of goods, right? Or inflation rate and the quantity of goods. The equilibrium in the goods and services market occurs when the aggregate demand of goods equals the aggregate supply. So the equilibrium in the goods and services market occurs when aggregate supply curve intersects the aggregate demand curve, and here is the equilibrium price, and this is Q star E, right? In the labor market, this is in the labor market, the equilibrium occurs when this is the price of labor or the wage, صح? Price of labor with quantity of labor. The equilibrium occurs when the labor demand curve intersects the labor supply curve. And here we have the equilibrium wage or the equilibrium price of labor. صح؟ وهذا ايش؟ The equilibrium quantity of labor, E, this is E. تمام؟ The same idea in the money market. In the money market, the equilibrium occurs. This is a quantity of money, the price of money. The same. Price of goods, price of labor, price of money, which is what? The interest rate. تكلفة الأموال, تكلفة الاقتراض is what? Is the cost of borrowing or the interest rate. R. And this is the quantity of money. The same quantity of labor, quantity of goods and services, a quantity of money. The equilibrium occurs when the money supply curve intersects the money demand curve. This is the equilibrium point. This is R star, which is the equilibrium interest rate, and this is the equilibrium quantity of money. Right? Okay? طيب. Let's come back to the goods and services market and the labor market, and let's come back to the money market. In the goods and services market, if the prices are lower or higher than the equilibrium price, the quantity supplied of goods is larger than the quantity of the demand of goods. صح؟ مين أكبر؟ Quantity supplied of goods أكبر من the quantity demand of goods. So we have what? Exactly. Excess supply of goods. Right? تمام. Here, in the labor market. If the wage or the price of labor is larger than or higher than the equilibrium wage, the quantity of labor supplied is larger than the quantity of labor demanded. So here we have what? Exactly. Which is the excess, it's called excess supply of labor, right? In the money market, it's the same. If the interest rate is larger than the equilibrium interest. So suppose this is and this is R1, right? In this case, the quantity of money supplied is larger than the quantity of money demanded. So here we have what? Exactly the same. Excess supply of money. في عرض نقود أكثر من الطلب على النقود. So at R1 we have what? Excess supply of money, or a quantity of money supplied is higher than or larger than quantity of money supplied is larger than the quantity of money demanded. بمعنى في عرض نقود أكثر من الناس من اللي بتطلبه الناس، صح؟ For transactions, for speculation. طيب so شو الوضع؟ Let's go to this point. For money holding, but طيب in this case the current interest rate اللي هو R1 is larger than the equilibrium interest rate. يعني سعر الفائدة على البونز عالي. شو الناس بتشتري؟ بتشتري بونز، صح؟ مظبوط ولا لا؟ in this case الانترست ريت على البونز عالي، أعلى من اللي هو الايكوليبريم، وبالتالي in this case they or the people or the households would prefer to buy bonds. صح؟ تمام؟ exactly لأنه الانترست ريت عالي تبعه. تمام؟ يا شباب؟ طيب let's come back to this or let's go to this point or this slide. As you see at R1 here, this is R1 and this is R star, the equilibrium interest rate. As you see, the current interest rates on bonds إيش ماله is higher than the equilibrium interest rate, صح? Which means the quantity of money supplied is larger than the quantity of money demanded اللي بيطلبوها الناس. الناس بتطلبش مصاري كتير، صح؟ هذا معناه هيك انه الماني اللي في السيركيليشن موجود اكبر من الديماند فور ماني households for money. تمام؟ So as you see at R1 the amount of money in circulation is higher than the households and firms wish to hold. المصاري الموجودين circulation الماني سبلاي اعلى من ايش؟ من الموجود من اللي بيطلبوه الناس والمؤسسات. تمام؟ And they will attempt to reduce their money holdings by ايش؟ buying bonds. مثلا الانترست ريت عالي على البونز، معنى الكلام بيطلبوا بونز وبالتالي المصاري بيقللوا المصاري اللي في ايديهم الموجودات في جيابهم، صح؟ or their money holding بسموه الاحتفاظ بالنقود as a cash money. تمام؟ So if the interest rate is high الناس ايش بتشتري؟ they would prefer to buy bonds. صح؟ مظبوط ولا لا؟ but exactly and in this case the money holding or the household holding of money would decline. صح ولا لا؟ تمام؟ طيب and vice versa if the interest rate is at R2 or is smaller than or lower than the equilibrium interest rate. What do you see? The quantity of money demanded is larger than the quantity of or greater than the quantity of money supplied. صح? In this case, if we are at R2 here, what do you see? At R2, this is R2, the quantity of money demanded is greater than the quantity of money supplied. So هذا معناه انه الناس بتطلب مصاري اكثر من الموجود، صح؟ طب وقتيش الناس بتطلب مصاري وعشان تبع هاي لما بيكون الانترست ريت واطي متدني، صح؟ بعطوكاش انترست ريت على البونز عالي، وبالتالي بتفضل انه تستخدمهم كاش ماني فور ترانزاكشنز فور، مظبوط ولا لا؟ صح؟ So in this case as you see the interest rate is low متدني، وبالتالي the households would prefer to hold more money as a cash، صح؟ and they buy less bonds، مظبوط ولا لا؟ هيشتروا كميات اقل من وبالتالي الانترست ريت لما بيكون متدني الطلب على البونز بيكون متدني، صح؟ مظبوط ولا لا؟ طيب so as you see at R2 the households don't have enough money to facilitate ordinary transactions، ما فيش عندهم مصاري كفايه عشان الترانزاكشنز الديلي ترانزاكشنز، هيو لانه quantity of money demanded اقل او اكبر، وبالتالي بيطلبوا كميات اكبر من المصاري، صح؟ so they will shift assets out of bonds and into their checking accounts، بيروحوا بيبيعوا البونز تبعهم عشان يجيبوا مصاري for to meet their daily transactions، the needs of daily transactions. تمام؟ اوكي. طبعا as you see that the money supply curve is a vertical line which means طبعا هذا ليش هو vertical line؟ لأنه يحدد من قبل السنترال بانك. يعني suppose إنه the central bank decided إنه الماني سبلاي تبعنا يكون $200,000 أو $200 million، خلاص هو هيك، so it's a vertical line. تمام؟ وبالتالي there is no effect on the interest rate on the quantity of money supply. هذا السلايد هيك بيقول. اوكي؟ تمام؟ اوكي. Let's go to chapter 7, the money demand, the equilibrium interest rate, and the monetary policy. In this chapter, we will focus on the money demand and how much can the household holds money and how much they can use to buy bonds, and what is the optimal balance of using money or holding money as a cash or as a bond, right? In the last chapter, in chapter 6, we focused on the money supply and the equilibrium in the money market, right? So let's go to the money demand and then the equilibrium once again with more details. The interest rate, as you see, that the interest rate is what? Is the fee that the borrowers pay to the lenders for use or for the using of their funds. So suppose that you went to the bank to borrow a loan or to take a loan. In this case, you have to pay a fee, which is the interest rate. We have a formula to calculate the interest rate, which is the interest rate or the interest received per year over the amount of the loan times 100. This is the interest rate, right? So the interest rate is the interest received per year over the value of loan or the amount of loan times 100. تمام؟ Okay. Suppose, or to understand the idea for the demand for money, suppose that you have or I have a question. What are the main reasons for the demand for money? And why does the household demand money? Exactly. For transactions. For what else? purchasing, which means the transactions. What else? These are the main purposes for the demand for money. As you see, transactions, a precautionary, which is saving or احتياط, or emergency or contingency. And the last is the speculation, المضاربة, right? So these are the main reasons for the money demand. And the household, or there is a trade-off between the liquidity of money and the interest income offered by the other kinds of assets. Suppose that we have, or you have, a $1,200. This is the income that you are granted monthly. Suppose that you are granted a monthly salary of 1,200. This is your monthly salary. Monthly salary. You receive this amount once or one time a month. مظبوط؟ دخلك الراتب هذا بتستلمه قديش؟ مرة واحدة في الشهر. By the end of month. تمام؟ And suppose that you spend this amount every day by the same share. بحصص متساوية. بتصرفوا كل يوم، انت بتصرف اشي متساوي من الدخل هذا. بدنا نفترض هيك according to the theory انه احنا ال $1,200 هذول بتصرفهم كل يوم بدفعات متساوية. تمام؟ So your spending is, so the average spending قديش عندك بالmonth? The average spending or the average daily spending قديش بيساوي؟ 1,200 over 30 days. صح؟ So, in this case, your average spending or daily spending is $40 a day. هذا بدنا نفترض هيك إنه إحنا كل يوم بنصرف منه على الفرق ما بين، أو خلينا نيجي للجزء الثاني later on. طيب, the question is, how can you allocate or distribute this income by, or to maximize the benefits of this income? عشان نعظم المنفعة من الدخل تبعنا هذا, we can use or distribute this income into two parts or three types of spending. Number one, we can use this amount for speculation, for transactions, or we can hold all of this amount as a cash. ممكن نحتفظ بالمبلغ كله cash في جيبتنا for all the month. In this case, there is no interest. ما خدش interest لأنه كل اللي محتفظينه إحنا قديش؟ كله عبارة عن الانكم تبعي، كله هذا محتفظ فيه في إيش؟ كاش. وما اشتريتش بونز. صح؟ So we have خلينا نحكي two types of holding, of money holding. Number one, إنه أنا 100% of this amount بنعمل money holding بسموه money holding. Money holding means إنه أنا محتفظ بكله cash. تمام؟ طيب, the second part أو the second idea إنه أنا أخذ جزء من هذا, part of this amount, part of this income to buy bonds, والجزء الثاني بصرف فيه spending. So suppose إنه هنا في هذه الidea هيك I hold or held money holding خلينا نقول money holding احتفظت ب 600 as a cash money. قديش بيضل عندي كاشتري بونز واخذ عليه انترست 600 لهذول to buy bonds. تمام. طيب suppose انه الانترست ريت على البوند هذا equals 10%. اوكي 10% على مين؟ على 600. So this amount is a money holding is used for ايش؟ transaction. وهذا لإيش؟ investment عملت فيه bonds صح؟ as a household. 10% 10% to buy bonds قديش الانترست عمليا؟ 60 صح؟ So in this case the profits equals قديش؟ 10% times 600 ويساوي $60. تمام؟ صح ولا لا؟ إذن I have two ways to distribute my income or to use my income. Number one, I can use all of this income as a money holding or cash money. بدي احتفظ فيه as a cash money for transactions. The second idea, I can use part of this amount as a money holding by using it for transaction. In this case, $600 is used for or are used for transaction. And the second part اللي بضل عندي 600 by buying bonds. طب إذا أنا بلاش 600 suppose إنه أنا I used $400 as a money holding بسموه هذا. قديش في عندي رحت مشتري bonds؟ Exactly 800. So in this case the profits equals قديش؟ Exactly 80. تمام. بروح في اخر الشهر اللي انا بايع الفلوس هذول في نص الشهر اللي انا بايع البوند هذا وماخذ عليه انترست وبالتالي عملت ايش؟ اوبتمايزيشن. Exactly. تمام. طيب so let's go to the following exercise in order to understand the idea and concept and then come back to the to understand the idea. Let's go to the following practical exercise. As you see that someone receives an income of $600. This is the total income or the total monthly income. واحد بياخد income monthly income $600 and he has two ways to optimize or to maximize his earning from this income. So let's see the following columns. As you see, these are the number of switches. Numbers of switches means عدد مرات اللي ببيع فيها البونز. تمام؟ طيب the average money holding قديش بيحتفظ بالنقود ككاش. The average bond holdings قديش بيقدر يشتري bonds. يعني suppose if he wants to spend or to use $600 as or to hold the money of $600 as a cash money قديش 600. And so in this case he is not able to buy bonds. So the average bonds holding equals 0. صح? In this case he used $300 to use it for transaction or average money holding قديش 300 وبالتالي البونز بيقدر يشتري 300 200 400 150 450 and so on, right? طيب and we have the interest rate. The interest rate as you see is 5% on bonds. تمام. في عنده 5% بياخد interest على البونز and so the interest earned is the interest rate times قديش عنده average bond holding. صح؟ مظبوط ولا لا؟ هذا الانترست earned الانترست اللي هو بياخدها تساوي ايش؟ الانترست ريت اللي هو 5% تايمز قديش عنده افريج بوند هولدنج في الاول 5%، 5% تايمز 0 قديش؟ 0. 5% تايمز 300 قديش؟ 15 and so on. تمام؟ طيب في عندنا الكوست اوف سويتشنج، تكلفة اللي هو الانتقال من البونز للهولدنج ماني او الماني هولدنج، انه راح للبروكر وباعوا البوند، في عنده بصير في عندنا تكلفة كوست لعملية السويتشنج من بونز لماني هولدنج، هذا اسمه الكوست اوف سويتشنج. تكلفة السويتش الواحد عملية البيع $2. تمام؟ Yes. Yes, exactly. It's constant, fixed. So in this case, suppose the number switch is 0 because he doesn't have bonds. في الكيس الأول he doesn't have bonds. The bonds holding 0. So there is no switching. Right? Suppose in the second case he sold the bonds, the $300 as a bond one time. باعها مرة واحدة $1 times 2 قديش بيكون عنده؟ 2 الكوست اوف سويتشنج. طيب ال2 هذا the $400 باعهم مرتين او باعهم على مرحلتين 200 وفي عنده في مرحلتين اللي هو number of switches مرتين 2 times 2 الكوست اوف سويتش. تمام؟ 2 بصير الكوست اوف سويتشنج قديش؟ 4 and so on. هنا ال 350 او ال 450 هدول ايش مالهم؟ الافريج بوند هولدنجز باعهم على 3 مرات 150 وبالتالي 3 times 2 قديش بيكون في عندي الكوست اوف سويتشنج؟ 6. الكيس الاخير he has or he sold the bonds 4 times اللي هم المبلغ هذا 480 باعوا على 4 مرات 120 لو بدك تحسبها. تمام؟ قديش بيكون عند الكوست اوف سويتشنج؟ 8. تمام؟ طيب and the last is the net profits. net profits عبارة عن ايش؟ الانترست earned minus الكوست اوف سويتشنج بعطيني النت profits. right? so اللي حيجيك missing sometimes او ال unknown may be average sorry interest earned you have to calculate it where the cost of switching والnet earning or net profits. yes بس تمام. هلا حتاخذوا exercises العلاقه يكون الانترست ريت مجهول ومعطيك الانترست اند والكوست اوف سويتشنج وتعمل الكالكوليشن. تمام. طيب now suppose that the interest rate so where is the optimal balance which maximize the benefits of his income؟ انه بيعطيني اعلى net profits هو بيكون الاوبتيمال بالانس. اللي بيعطيني اعلى net profits the highest net profits بيكون ايش ماله؟ the optimal balance. so I advise according to the information here or the results, where is the highest net profits? 16.5. so I advise the household to hold how much? 150 as a money holding or a cash money and buy bonds by 450 according to the running or the available interest rate. طيب now suppose that the interest rate has been changed. يعني the interest rate declined to 3. Exactly. So the number of switches constant where the average money holding the same where the average bond holding the same. بس خلينا نشوف الانترست earned والنت earning او net profits. شو اللي صار؟ the interest earned في الكيس الاول 0. الثاني 3% times 1 times قديش؟ اللي هو الافريج بوند هولدنج 300 3 في 3 ب 9 and so on. اللي بعده 3% في 400 بيساوي 12 مظبوط and so on. and the cost of switching remains constant. صح؟ so the net profit as you see has been a change. قديش صار عندنا 0 minus 0 0, 9 minus 2 7, 12 minus 4 8, and so on. So where is the new optimal balance? Which gives him the highest net earning at 8. صح؟ يعني أعلى حاجة أعطاني net earning أو net profits عند 8. So I advise. So as you see, the optimal balance has been changed. So I advise the household to buy or to hold money or cash money 200 and buy bonds by 400. So as you see, the optimal balance is determined by the interest rate and the cost of switching. Exactly. To maximize the profits, or it depends on what? The interest rate and the cost of switching. صح؟ يعطيكم